Welcome back to the Momentum Podcast. This week, I'm here with my friend, Tim Erickson. Tim is an organizational consultant and TikTok phenom as of recent.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about this idea of making science go viral. And what does it mean to go viral? Tim's experience, and he's made a few videos, and one that even in the last 24 hours has started to go viral. So Tim, first, who is Tim?
Yeah, thank you so much for that introduction. So like you said, my name is Tim. I work with organizations to find solutions to different problems, and it's a really life-giving way to serve the community and serve the people around me. And I couldn't be happier.
Awesome. Couldn't be happier.
Well, I guess I could probably be happier, but it's one of those like things that you say.
Wow,
like,
you're like one in a million. During COVID, couldn't be happier. What a dream.
Yeah, you could say I'm living the COVID dream. So there's optimism everywhere, and I found it.
I love it. I want to ask you about what it means to go viral. So, all of us, when we started this COVID dream, right? I think a lot of people, we put pressure on ourselves to be crazy creative. A lot of original social media posts during the season had to do with like Shakespeare wrote these things during the plague, and, Leonardo, all these incredible feats of history that have been created during times of, the New Testament, for example, was written from a prison, right?
Yeah.
So we put all this pressure, and then kind of the pressure went back a little bit, and people were chill and said, just be you, be happy. If you're alive, that's a good thing. Talk us through your creative process. What has happened for you during this COVID that resulted to where you've at now and what you've produced?
Yeah. So I think everyone's had such a unique experience in COVID, and I'm no exception. And to say I couldn't be happier, there's definitely been up and down moments.
Of course.
And I think there's been soul searching moments, and there's been times when I thought, well, what do I really want for myself? What do I want for the people around me? And as I've gone through that, I've realized I want to be a creator because I want to provide hope. And one of my top 5 values is impact. Yeah. Another one of them is dreaming big. And so I decided one day, why not just actually try and make content on TikTok, this new app, new to me because I'm a millennial, and it's famous for all the Gen Zers just doing their thing. And I thought, well, what a great way to interact with people in a way that will challenge me. And so the creative process for me, it happens usually with, I'll hear a sound, or I'll hear a statement or a quote, or I'll read something in a book, and it kind of is just like, there's like a little twist in my mind, and I think, that's interesting. And I'll put a note in my phone. I'll put a sticky note on my mirror. And usually what happens is when I take a break from that idea, I go on a walk every day, about an hour and a half walk.
Wow.
And that's when my mind sort of pieces things together. And I think, this is what I'm doing. Today, I am making a parody version of The Office and what they would do during the pandemic. So let's do it.
And you did that. So there was big news.
I did. Yeah. I've gotten about 200 views on those ones. Those have not gone viral yet, but they are hilarious.
But there's some people have engaged with you.
That's true. I did. My last episode was liked by none other than John Krasinski, who plays Jim in The Office.
Unbelievable.
So
Life made.
Just about lost my mind. I definitely screenshotted that. I retired happy.
What job description? I'm a retired TikToker.
Yeah. Actually, there are people that have made enough money on the app they could retire.
Unbelievable.
It's wild.
Unbelievable. And now, over the last 24 hours, talk us through what has happened.
Yeah. So in the world of TikTok going viral, there are some videos that get millions of views, and then there's different levels of viral. There's different sort of worlds in TikTok. And so right away when I made videos, I would get like 100 views. I would get, maybe 1 or 2 likes.
And your friends from high school watch them.
Actually, it's funny. It's complete strangers.
No way.
I have maybe 3 friends on the app.
Really?
All of my friends who've watched my videos, pretty much, I've sent them the link and they've watched it in my text, which means I don't get any engagement from my friends and family.
So the stats, you don't get the stats counted.
Yeah. So
yeah.
And so none of the algorithm of TikTok.
I haven't opened it in TikTok either. I am one of those.
That's okay. For me, it was a really good way to express creativity in a way that there's no possible way I could get judged for it. Although ironically, maybe as I get a following, I can.
Because you don't know anyone.
Yeah. For me, it was, I have this idea. Yeah. I'm going to put it out there and I'm going to see if strangers like it, dislike it, support it, don't support it. And as I've gone through, I've had a few videos. I had one that had like 1,200 likes, and it was me lip syncing into a funny song and writing a little caption that was funny. And I spun in a circle, and it looked like I was wearing a suit all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And people liked it. It was funny. And as I went on, I didn't really find a lot that hit home. And
that was your famous one, was I look like COVID clothes and then turn into a suit.
Yeah. It was pretty funny. And as people talk about going viral on TikTok anyway, and in general, a lot of times it's ideas that you just don't expect. They're like, it's like an afterthought or a sudden like, oh, it'd be funny if I posted this, or it'd be important. And so somebody had posted, their post went mega viral, like millions of views. And she was just in the pool and like, not working. And she had read an email from the CEO that said, like, make sure everyone's working. And she was in the pool. And so she was just kind of talking about how, like, isn't it ridiculous that I got my work done? And I get this email from my CEO, and that really hit me because as a person who has studied IO psychology, industrial organizational psychology, I'm not sure if you've heard of that, Dr. Iverson. It really hit me because I want people to have meaningful work and to be better off because of their job and to put other people in that same position.
Yes.
And for someone to have it in the back of their mind that they're doing something wrong because they efficiently and effectively got their work done.
Wow.
Was wrong to me. And so if nothing else, I thought I can make a post that she will appreciate. And so I opened up my computer. I looked up a few HBR, Harvard Business Review articles, and thought, what does the science say? Because I don't want to put something out there that's wrong. I don't want to say, you do you. The CEO has no idea what he's talking about. But I wanted to make sure that I could be supportive, but also correct. And so I posted something that went to the effect of the 40-hour work week started in 1938, but the 32-hour work week has research that suggests that people are more productive. They have a better work-life balance. They have less sick days, and businesses make more money. And I did it. I made it really quickly. I threw on a sport coat with my basketball shorts. No one saw the basketball shorts.
Just like Jim, right? On the good.
Just
John
just like
Chernansky.
He's my spirit animal. So I'm sure he's listening right now. Huge shout out to you. Thank you for making me who I am. But yeah, it's funny. I made a quick video. I put it out there. I thought maybe I'll take this down in a couple hours because
if it's too embarrassing.
Like what if my science is wrong? And it got a few likes and views right away. And I thought not much of it.
Yeah.
And the next morning I woke up and I had 8,000 views. That was this morning overnight. Like I got tons of views and I was like, okay, this is getting some traction. And I had comments. I think I had 30 comments in the morning.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of people expressing the same sentiment and they were surprised. Like, where does this research come from? Like, I work 50 hours a week. I'd like to see you fix my problems. And what should I do? How do I talk about this with my management? How does my management see this?
Yeah.
And it doesn't come from me. That was what someone had said. And so I thought, wow, people are really engaging and I want to answer these questions. And then now it's the end of the night. We're just pushing 30,000 views and I don't even know how many thousand likes it has. And it's still out there. It's still growing. And it's really exciting to see 99% of the comments have been positive or growth minded. And I've been able to speak to them individually. It's been really fun.
I think that's really exciting both of us are from small towns in the Midwest.
Yeah.
So I asked you earlier today, what's the population of Fergus Falls, the town?
Yeah. My small town, Minnesota was 13,000. And I don't know if you know this, the small town in North Dakota I grew up in had 900 people.
Oh my.
So 30,000 is
the whole county population.
It is. It's mind blowing to think that 30,000 people that I probably don't know 29,995 of them have seen it and had some sort of impression. And a few thousand had an impression enough to like it. I've gotten another 100 or so followers out of it.
Yeah.
It's been really fun.
We had a conversation too of like, for what purpose? Like, what does it matter? Right. That if, I think you asked me too, suppose you get, on some platform, I have millions of followers. how would you use that? What does that matter? And I appreciate your response to that. Yeah. Like, or you asked me that, like, what does it matter?
Yeah.
And then you said like why it matters for you. How would you want to steward that? Like if you could impact 2 million people in a particular way, like why or how?
Yeah. And so I think a lot of it has to do with my personal values and I want to help people be better off.
Yeah.
And so for me, anytime I've posted on the app, from the time I had 20 followers, I thought if I can impact one person
to tomorrow when BuzzFeed picks it up.
Yeah, it's worth it because someone might have a problem. They might have an opportunity and they might also be stuck in their own bias, their own upbringing, their own mindset of saying, maybe I'm not worth something. And for me to be a person that has some credential to say you are worth something, here's a strategy that you could use that gives people hope. And if I could be known as a positive, hope bringing person in a social media world that is filled with a lot of the opposite, that's powerful. And it's not about the numbers for me. It's about impacting as I go and with what I have. And so if I don't have another follower, I've made legitimate friends out of it. I've met with, I had a great talk with a consultant who is mentoring me today. and these are all people through TikTok and they're the nicest people. I have been just blown away.
So like you literally talked to a real person today.
Yeah. Yeah.
and she said she gets business through TikTok too.
Yeah. I talked to her for 2 hours and she has a really cool business model that she coaches executives. She has multiple programs running through the stages of a year. And she has coaching clients. And she said a lot of her business this year has come through TikTok.
What does it look like to make science go viral?
Oh, I love that question. And so I know we were talking earlier about it's kind of hard to predict viral videos. And sometimes what goes viral is just the weirdest stuff. And sometimes it's ideas that don't hold much merit. It's an opinion. It's a news headline. It's something that isn't, in the scientific community referred to as valid or reliable. It doesn't necessarily hit the mark. And so it's one thing for someone to say, oh, I could get my work done in 32 hours. And, coincidentally, they're right, potentially, for them, their situation, but to provide research that is sound and thought out and has sources. I've been telling people, like, this is the article I based it on. Go read it for yourself. You can vet me. And so I love the idea of science that is reliable and approachable being spread, because a lot of times the social media is just noise. It's just opinions and it's not necessarily helpful, but it gets turned into ammunition. And so if we're going to turn an idea into ammunition, at least let it be right or founded or something.
Yeah. So Tim referenced the words reliable and valid. And in the scientific world, we picture those often as a bullseye. If you reliably hit the same point, if you consistently hit the same point on a target, that's reliable. If you're consistently hitting the wrong point, but it's still consistent, that's reliable, but it's not valid. And the opposite is if you're hitting generally around the center of the target, but it's not always in the same exact spot, that's valid, but not reliable. So hopefully we have valid and reliable things. That the 32-hour work week, in order to be valid and reliable, it means, well, for the construction worker and the office worker, right? That means generalizable. And so hopefully it hits across the board. Like generally most of us would be happier, healthier if we worked 32 hours. And then generalizable to other time points. Is this just the 2020 thing, or is this 50 years from now? Was that about 50 years ago? Was this true? I don't know. Yeah, those are all really, really good points. And the other thing about going viral, for me personally, I find a lot of value in empowerment. And so something that had happened a couple of weeks ago that I was sharing with you was I'd been working with someone in their organization who's doing amazing work, but didn't feel like she was worth the number that I thought she was worth. I thought she was a 6-figure employee. And she did all of the hard work of positioning herself, of working the hours, of being strategic. And I was able to help her get to a place of saying,
you have reasons, really, really strong reasons to ask for a raise, to ask for some flexibility.
Yeah.
And she did, and she got she got paid for the work that she's doing. And it's not always about money, but for me, the conversation afterward was she realized her worth in some way, shape or form of saying, I am a competent, like courageous and ambitious woman who is making a positive difference in the world and in my organization. Yeah. And this all sounds so aspirational, but for me, I realized like, this is really cool to empower my friend. And what if that could get magnified to social media? Yeah. What if people could watch a post that is rooted in science, but also is empowering? And I love thinking about the world that we could create, at least with the people that are interacting with that sort of content.
Because in this, the value behind what you're sharing of this 32-hour work week says to the listener, the viewer, your time is valuable. You're not a machine, right? That you get tired. You have a mind, you have creativity, you have beauty. Your life is meant for more than work. Work is a beautiful expression of life, but it's not everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think those are important values to say that sometimes when we get caught up in our jobs, and jobs are important, they're a blessing. It's a blessing to work. But when we are working long hours consistently, our identity begins to be shaped by that. And then we think, well, who am I but this?
Yeah, absolutely.
All I am is this job title.
Yeah. And that can go, I mean, you know all of this, but as people's identity gets wrapped up in work, then what happens when you lose that job? What happens when COVID hits and you're turned all the way around? And to know that you're more than a job, you're more than a paycheck,
right?
You're more than a business expense. Those kinds of ideas permeating society, they do bring hope. They can bring hope. And I love that kind of a world.
The obsession if we're essential or non-essential employee, right?
Oh man, that kills me. Yeah. And it was such an interesting line to draw because it wasn't necessarily what the government was saying, but then it got taken in a way of like, all right, we're either essential or we're not. And like, if you're not essential,
categorically important.
I don't know. Like what does that mean? Hunger Games or something. I hope not.
Exactly. You're in the wrong zone.
Yeah.
So what does it look like to make science go viral? Let's have a little like brainstorming session. How do we make more posts like this go viral? How do we help reliable, valid science go viral?
Yeah.
What's the process? How can we become better at this?
I think the first process is to understand the science of the algorithm.
I like that.
Ironically, I don't know if you know much about this, but I can.
I know on Instagram some of the algorithm, but I want to hear it on TikTok.
It's really interesting. And so I've actually followed a number of people that talk about like how to go viral on TikTok. It's funny. They go viral by talking about going viral, but
dream within a dream.
Yeah. So like you have to be strategic. You have to be aesthetically pleasing. You have to be interesting, and it has to be motivating because the algorithm of TikTok is such that you need watch time. People need to watch your videos multiple times. They need to pause it. They need to like interact because one of the metrics is watch time. Another metric is comments and shares. So if people are commenting, if you have something thought provoking, then, and if you like it, if you respond, if other people are liking each other's comments. And so oftentimes people do this by creating fights, honestly. And I don't like it. But if you can encourage like thought or comment sharing, and so that's one of the reasons that my post has gone, viral so far.
Because it's kind of controversial.
It's a little controversial. I've had some people saying this is a cute idea, but like, if you walked a day in my shoes, and I'm like, I don't know what your shoes look like. So you could be right. But that's the kind of idea. And me, I've been asking them like, hey, what line of work are you in? What do you think you could do? Have you asked for a raise? Like maybe you should ask if you feel undercompensated. I mean, maybe we should talk about it.
Yeah.
And so those are the big things. You need content that's rewatchable, that's shareable, and that's commentable. And a lot of times that's done by really being clear in your message. You have to be concise. A lot of these, just to put the words industrial organizational psychology is probably going to get people scrolling past it.
Yeah, of course.
It's intimidating. It's not understandable. And that's why videos of people like running into doors goes viral because it's funny and it's like rewatchable and like, oh, look at this person running into a door. And so to translate that to science, you have to strike a nerve or strike a chord. And one person that I've listened to has expressed it as you need to make people laugh or cry. And I think that can expose other emotions as well.
Sad, mad, or glad. One person said to me, right?
Yeah.
In the response to the question, what is your calling? He said, sad, mad, or glad.
Yeah.
It was Paul Olson from Minnesota.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Oh man. I know Paul Olson from Colorado. I wonder if they're related. But yeah, I think that idea of sad, mad, or glad, if your post can evoke emotion, it's going to be responded to. And that's where people, we know the stats, a lot of people are not very happy or satisfied at their jobs.
Yeah.
And so to hear
80% of us don't like our work.
To hear that there's that you could spend less hours doing something that you're not satisfied in, that seems appealing. And my hope would be that as they work less hours, they actually become more satisfied in what they're doing. Right. And that would be quite the win. And so
there's balance, and you can have a break and look forward to going back to work, kind of like a teacher in the summer, right?
Yeah. There's an element of showing them a little piece of the enticing information so that you can engage with the details, the complexities. And that's where I'm seeing these opportunities. Okay, I'm seeing a pattern. A lot of teachers are unhappy with where they're at. They're not very satisfied with the communication during COVID. They weren't really satisfied before COVID, and so like, I wonder how IO psychology can interact with that. And I'm seeing, even today, like sharing ideas, there's a German teacher who's like, hey, we got a great system. Maybe you should learn from us. And I was like, yeah, I don't know much about Germany teaching standards, but I feel like they're pretty good at it. And so it provides an opportunity to learn. And so, sad, mad, or glad, watch time, study the algorithm, and it changes. But if you can have the greatest message in the world, the greatest sentiment, and if it's not packaged correctly, it will not get a second glance.
So it could be on TikTok. This means good lighting, right font style, good music choice.
Yeah. Don't make it an advertisement. Being organic to the app is really important. Just like there's like each of these social media platforms has a different personality. And if you go in with the wrong personality, it's not going to be appreciated. And so TikTok, it has more of an organic, like use goofy like effects, like use face filters that make yourself look like you have, your chipmunk cheeks. Yeah. Or like use a green.
People are super expressive, even yourself, right? You're very expressive on TikTok. Yeah. You're expressive normally, and then TikTok, it's like triple. Yeah. And it's being received well.
Yeah. I'm like making like frustrated faces and like pointing dramatically with music, because it's like this loop program. But Instagram is more of an aesthetic program. You can use stories to be authentic, but your posts need to be a little bit more polished, a little bit more well thought out. Yeah. And Facebook is like posting pictures. I don't even know what people use Facebook for anymore, honestly.
Political rants.
Like Mark Zuckerberg just canceled this podcast. But I think Facebook is more about like, I have a page, you can follow along. Like, here's some photos
family
of us.
photos from my vacation.
Yeah. And like blogs have their own, YouTube is videos
and LinkedIn. You've been engaging a bit on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah. Yep. I have been. And it's interesting to see the dynamics that are different. And LinkedIn is a lot more established than TikTok. And that's one of the things that I'm intrigued by, because right now, if you are a millennial, you're an early adopter of TikTok. At least a semi-early adopter. And that gives you a lot of opportunities to establish a base before everyone else. Wow. It also means that the people I've been meeting are the same personality, and they're like, hey, let's connect. Let's come up with ideas.
We're unique together.
Yeah. Whereas LinkedIn, it's kind of like the establishment. There's a lot of people, I've heard multiple people say this, there's a lot of people like puffing their chest out
on LinkedIn.
Yeah. And like, there's good content shared, but there can be some like element of posturing. And so I write content, but I've actually started steering more away from that and thinking more, how can I connect with people authentically? And
because you've been writing blog posts for a while.
I have been. Yeah. And I've been writing short form for Instagram, longer form for LinkedIn. And then now I've been condensing that into like 15-second bursts on TikTok.
And that's where it's been received probably most
positively. Definitely the most eyeballs, and actually the best connections too. So Instagram and TikTok have led to the best professional connections. LinkedIn has led to a lot of empty conversation. Yeah. And I know it works for some people, and maybe I just haven't found the right personality to interact natively.
It seems like for me, at least, if I'm trying to interact with an organization, then LinkedIn is good, you know, a recruiter or someone, or, you know, a representative of an organization.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me, it's also, if I'm on a Zoom meeting lately and it's, I'm on a monthly Zoom meeting with all the program directors from around the country in our field. And today during the Zoom call, I'm looking up Zoom directors on LinkedIn.
Oh, cool.
And then adding them. And I've maybe never talked to them, but we both comment on the conversation monthly. And then I want to say, yes, I'm in your network. So then I add them, and now there's familiarity. So that if they should hear my name, if I should hear their name. And I want to be influenced by their thoughts, by their reshares of articles. We had a conversation today, you know, about controversial topics in our field. Yeah. And it was super fun to hear literally around the country. What are their perspectives? How are they navigating these issues?
Yeah.
So I use it kind of like this thank you follow-up note. Like,
oh, cool.
Hey, great to meet you today. Appreciated the thoughts you shared. Add. Kind of like how Facebook was used 10 years ago.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I think LinkedIn, my number one usage is probably networking and just sending out like ideas, or like, hey, like I'd love to ask you some questions about this, or I'd like to, you know, talk to you about this idea, or like I see you work in HR at NASA. I'd like to, you know, be your number two, something like that.
Yeah.
But if you want to go viral, it's easiest to use a new platform, because the other ones are going to cost money.
Because it's not saturated yet.
Yeah. Over time, like if you want to go viral on Instagram, you have to have really, really good content, or you have to have a ton of friends who will share your content. But the easiest way is to pay for it.
And even then, if you pay for it, you have to have good content.
Yeah. Yeah.
You could pay a ton of money and not even received well.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. Like you definitely can, but it's a different sort of struggle.
So what advice would you have to listeners that are thinking about maybe engaging on a platform?
Yeah.
Who knows what their goals are, but engaging on a platform.
Yeah. I'd say for me, having this idea of a growth mindset is important, because if you approach it as a person who wants to be polished, or you're probably going to have a lot of attachment to that idea that probably will get 10 views. And that'll be discouraging, but you're also you're not going to learn as much. And so for me, I just realized I'm going to make something that I like, that I think could positively impact somebody, and we'll see what happens. Yeah. Like there's a dance that I made up. I'm very proud of it, to the dial-up modem sound.
No.
Yeah. Like
I need to find this.
It's ridiculous. And I think too, there's a fear of looking unprofessional on social media.
Yeah.
And I get it. And I think about that.
Because the internet is forever.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm like, you know, I wonder what would happen if I was applying for a job somewhere and the HR was like, all right, let's look at your TikTok, and like, are you dancing to the dial-up modem sound? I'd be like, yes, I am. Like, do you want someone with a sense of humor, or do you want like a corporate stereotype? I don't know. Yeah. And so there's an element of like, it's okay to be yourself.
Yeah.
Social media can it's really easy to get to a point where you wonder, is this representing me in the most perfect way?
Right.
But how many people are perfect?
That's so true. I think on Instagram, I commonly see, Insta fames, people with large followings saying this is fake.
Yeah.
This is not my real self. But they continue to post, right? Because, and I'm guilty of that as well. For my years in Seattle, spent a lot of time posting cool adventure photos, when really, in reality, most of my time was at the library working on my doctorate program.
Yeah.
But for me, it was a creative expression. It was a genuine expression of a small portion of my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Contrasting to TikTok, which it's almost in reaction to this over polished other social media platforms, like the perfect social media picture. And, not very few of us are going to post an ugly Facebook profile picture.
Yeah. And I think that's sort of like the Gen Z reaction to Instagram. Like they're on Instagram, and it's funny. A lot of them are like, yeah, follow me on Instagram because I don't know, like you should maybe, but like TikTok is where they can just like, they can have a bad day and then come back and be like, y'all never going to believe this, but like some person did something and I got it on camera and now I'm mad because I didn't get my chicken nuggets. It's like, and 10 million views, you know, it's like, wow. Because I think there's this collective, like, oh, me too. That's like what TikTok is. It's like, oh yeah, like this is funny because I went through a similar thing.
I think there's this like disarming part too, right? That you can put music. Many of us are a little insecure about sharing our own thoughts.
Yeah.
That, okay, we might turn on the camera, but if someone else says it for us, then so you can sing along with someone else's track in a unique way. Yeah. That really shares your thoughts, but you're communicating a different message in how you're presenting it.
Oh yeah. And that's actually a really funny part of it, like using the music, because so my post actually has the Taylor Swift song in the background. Which is funny because I don't think Taylor Swift has much to do with IO psychology, but once again, we'd love to have you.
She has a new album, so Taylor Swift, let's get you on here.
Taylor Swift, folklore, let's go
on the podcast. Join your TikTok. That's the real invitation.
I feel like there's a few universities that would give her an honorary IO PhD.
Oh my
gosh. But yeah, I lost my train of thought. T Swift, love her. But it's kind of funny to think that like, I could be using like some random song that is catchy and it's just like, basically it has a beat and on the beat, I'm pointing to like, here's an IO thing, here's an IO thing, here's an IO thing.
And that's it.
Yeah. And it's like a 14-second long video that has an average playback time of 45 seconds, which means the average person's watching it 3 times.
Really? On your video right now?
Mm-hmm. Last I checked, which was this morning. So it could be vastly
average
different.
Playback time of they're pausing it, rewatching it because the stats are interesting.
Yeah. Cause there's enough text that's engaging that they're like, what does that say? And as they comment, the video is going on. So like they're writing comments, they're reading other comments. And because there's something about like, wait, the 40-hour work week started in 1938. You know, and I didn't fill in the context. I didn't say like, because of like the unionization and the 80-hour, like, because, you know, the Ford was like, wait, we can make more cars if they work less hours.
Yeah.
You know?
And then they get weekends too.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I didn't, but I think there's enough there to be like, okay, what does that say? Because I want this.
There's something too of like, right, we all read the news articles that match our political perspective.
Yeah.
Right. And then if you find, you know, political leader you don't like looking stupid, we all click into it.
Yeah. And that's actually a really funny part of
the confirmation bias.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what you started to allude to is, hey, maybe I want to believe that. I want to believe 32 hours is better. That's a world I want to live in.
Oh yeah, definitely. And yeah. And people had a lot of responses to that. And it's actually funny. This is turning into like a TikTok thing, but like they have this thing called the For You page where it starts generating things that you would like. And so
kind of like the explore tab on Instagram then.
Yeah. Yep. Where it like says like, here's some things you think you might like. And I think that's one of those things where eventually, like as people engage, it gets put on like, oh, we think you might like Taylor Swift. You might like IO psychology, you know, for the 100 IO psychologists on the app, or like maybe you have some questions about work. Yeah. Maybe you've ranted about work in the past.
Yeah.
And I think about how cool would it be if I could start getting on the work rant pages for people that are unhappy in their jobs.
Yes.
To get them to be a little bit more like, oh, okay, like I can create purpose where I'm at. I can seek empowerment. And I love that so much because it takes like that. If we want to start a revolution to flip upside down work satisfaction, to go from 80% don't like their work to 80% like their work, it's going to have to be saturated across society. Yeah.
Through TikTok, through Instagram, through LinkedIn, through whatever the new platform is tomorrow.
Yeah.
Saturated to start getting these thought leaders moving and being early adopters on platforms like TikTok so that we can influence people to start thinking, maybe there's another alternative. Mm-hmm. Maybe there's an alternative reality to hating my life, hating my work.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that I think about as IO psychologists, what would it look like if we did start appearing on TikTok?
Yeah.
Because the primary audience are your future employees. They're Gen Z. They're in school now.
Goodness.
And I think if we can impress on them these values or these ideas, these strategies, what if we get more people studying IO psychology?
Oh my gosh.
Like I think I told you today, there's a person that had DM'd me and said, I'm choosing an IO school. I'm applying. What do I need to know?
Yeah.
I was like, well, first of all, you should know that you should do it. Like, second of all, Dr. Iverson, here's his phone number. But no, I haven't given that out yet.
That's tomorrow.
Yeah.
To BuzzFeed.
My next post is, if you want IO, call this number.
And I'm even, I was thinking about that, like, there's no way there's another IO professor on there. Like there probably is, doing cat videos or something, but
who knows? I've just today, I've met, I think 10 new psychology PhDs and master's level holders. None of them are IO, but they're all like, oh, IO's great.
So they know what it is. So more or less similar common fields. Yeah.
Yeah. Counseling, psychology, therapy. And actually a lot of the therapists have gone viral because they're speaking to the teens and 20s and 30s and 40s
and being real about depression and anxiety.
Yeah. They're all like, oh, where are you at? Like, you're not feeling okay? You're fine. Like, let's talk about it. Like anxiety, like, hey, you got it. Like let's I don't know, it's really positive. And that's what's been cool is I have not yet seen any other IO psychologists, but we have the content that hits people in the heart.
Yeah.
That would, and should go viral. It's just a matter of time to figure out who's going to do that.
And I think that's many of these potent fields. We struggle with that. So you went to the HBR, you went to Harvard Business Review, and Harvard Business Review, they cite the articles that came out in a peer-reviewed journals that probably took 3 years to publish from a top university. And then probably 3 years to do the experiment and get funded and get IRB approved. Then another 2 years to get published, applying to the journal, getting into the peer-reviewed journal, getting published. This is like a 5-year process. And then it gets published. And then it might be another year or two till HBR picks it up.
Yeah.
So could be 5 to 10 years from when this incredible, wonderful idea was first studied to when it actually hits a practitioner audience through a tool like HBR.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy. And I've wondered, how can we bridge that gap?
Yeah.
And maybe, man, I would love to work with people doing research now, or that are subject matter experts in different areas, the people that are closer to what's happening, and be able to say, like, how can we make this go viral? How can we get what you're passionate about, what your PhD is in? How can we convey this? And if you don't want to do it yourself, I've already put my name's out there. Like, the future HR people of America know that I dance to the dial-up modem sound. Like, I will post your content, or maybe that's not a good selling point. But yeah, I hear so many great sentiments and passions from IO people who are so smart.
But they're not getting the audience they deserve.
Yeah. And if they don't care about the audience, their content deserves an audience.
I appreciate that too, because it's then setting our ego aside. The content deserves an audience. The truths deserve to be heard. That's so good. And so, yeah, the truths deserve to be heard, and then closing the gap. So that ideally, if you can close the gap, reach the people developing the content, coming up with the ideas as they're writing about them, as they're thinking about them, that's speeding up the process 10 years from when we see it on a trendy article, on some HR article that's on LinkedIn.
Yeah. And that's one of those crazy things. Like, how cool would it be if we had research and statistics on how people are reacting in COVID?
Yes.
And we don't have the 2 years to go through the processes and all the formality, but it would be really great to say, here's an expert on remote work environments.
Yeah.
And let's talk about, like, what could and couldn't be happening, what should and shouldn't be happening.
And have a couple bullet points on TikTok.
Yeah. And like, let's condense your, 1,000-page thesis into 3 bullet points. But like, those are going to be so impactful because your long form research has such an important place.
Yeah.
But let's figure out how can we proliferate that into something that hits the audience. That
it seems like TikTok is like one PowerPoint slide, like one clean PowerPoint slide.
Yeah.
That's what you can do. Like not the PowerPoint slide that's like jumbled way too many words, but like one clean PowerPoint slide with like 1 point or 1 to 3 points.
Yeah. And if we're going to use that analogy, I think your whole page is the deck. Cause a lot of people end up finding a niche. Good. And so like, for example, you know, if I became like I'm going to help you with getting jobs guy, like applying IO to like getting jobs or like getting ahead in jobs. Yeah. Like I can kind of brand myself because what happens is you find your audience. Yeah. And right now I don't have like a clear audience because I'm so new. I started like 3 weeks ago and I've had explosive growth. You know, I have like 660 strangers that follow me. It's really funny.
Explosive growth. I feel like I'm a late night television commercial. Yes. Experience explosive growth.
Yeah. Oh man. But it's funny as I've watched and studied it and to see someone say like this one bullet point, this one slide, it might feel insignificant, but as your voice grows on the platform, I'm seeing people with millions of followers that help with like, here's like dating advice or here's like dancing advice. Like people give tutorials on like how to dance better. And like people give advice on everything, how to grow your business, how to grow your TikTok specifically. Yeah. And it's really interesting. And I would love to see more voices on like how to be more satisfied at work or how to like really crush remote working or whatever that is, to have that whole page be dedicated to making a positive impact. I think people would really resonate with it.
If people want to find you on TikTok, how can they find you?
My login name is Tim with 3 M's at the back. So it's my name 3 times. I had no idea what I was doing when I started that. So there could be a rebrand in the future.
But for the moment, Tim.
Yep.
On TikTok and any other platforms you want to give your handle?
Yeah. Follow me at wherever you want. Everywhere else it is at the Tim Erickson, another early, like, oh, this works. Yeah. I have a generic name, but I write a lot of business related content and IO stuff, and I have a lot of fun on TikTok. So I'd love for you to join me.
And you do consulting work as well. So
I do. Yeah. I've done a lot of different things. Lately I've been focusing a lot on curriculum design and working with executives on transition work and just like supporting the C-suite sort of things. So
cool.
Yeah.
So if you want some help in those areas as well, reach out to Tim on LinkedIn or other social media platforms. He'd love to give you a hand.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right. So this is Dr. Nathan Iverson and Tim Erickson signing off on how to make science go viral, focusing in on this new platform called TikTok. Thanks for listening along. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you on TikTok.